North Korea is a regime arming with missiles and weapons of mass destruction while starving its citizens. Iran aggressively pursues these weapons and exports terror, while an unelected few repress the Iranian people's hope for freedom. Iraq continues to flaunt its hostility toward America and to support terror. The Iraqi regime has plotted to develop anthrax and nerve gas and nuclear weapons for over a decade.
In the aftermath of September the 11th terrorist attacks, Washington and its Western allies wanted to impose a new history on the Middle East, a new map for the Arabs and indeed on the Muslim world. And in order to achieve this map, the West would wage a civilized war against terrorism. Since then, it's been stated many times, directly and otherwise, that the culprits, the bad guys in this world are Muslims, their religion, languages, cultures, and societal makeups. In fact, there was never a collective enemy, and it was for this reason, to change the Middle East and the Muslim world, it had to be invented. Muslims weren't united. They had their own regional, political, and even sectarian conflicts. In fact, most Muslim governments were considered, and still are considered, allies of the United States, strongly submitting to the American agenda. No matter how destructive and violent they were, all this needs to change. In this imaginary world, the Americans made the Middle East into a den of radical Islamists who, because of their absolute jealousy of Western progress and civilization, signed a social contract with the devil to defeat American democracy and destroy enlightenment. So then the collective West, including Israel and many other agents like Narendra Modi's India, jumped onto the bandwagon. They all wanted to be part of this war on terror and the ample strategic opportunities it offers them. But this history that the Americans created and imposed on the entire Middle East and the Muslim world was, and still is, fabricated. The United States of America, which leads the Western world, has fought a war for its own selfish causes: oil and gas, strategic maneuvers, and major geostrategic games. At the same time, Israel was fighting against the Palestinian liberation movement that existed decades before the events of September 11, 2001, and will continue to exist until the Palestinians recover and return to their colonized homeland. There are many chauvinists and racists in the West who eventually gathered in the far-right formations we see today, who have used Islam and Muslims as scapegoats to justify their racism, their hatred of immigrants and refugees, the refugees they have created by bombing Muslim lands and the Middle East. This is the uncomfortable reality that Americans and Westerners in general have to deal with now. To all my American friends, British, European, and those living in the lands of the so-called collective West, America's ideological war on terror is nothing but farce. The entire Western establishment, with its different ideological colours, failed the moral test on Palestine miserably.
Ahora los racistas y supremacistas del sionismo hoy quieren acabar con el pueblo palestino, y digo más, quieren acabar con todo el pueblo árabe, con todo el pueblo musulmán. Han sembrado una ideología del odio, de la racia. La han sembrado durante 75 años con el apoyo de Occidente. Atención, mundo bueno que me escucha. Atención, hombres y mujeres de los Estados Unidos, de Europa y del mundo. Han sembrado una ideología más peligrosa que la nazi. Primero contra el pueblo palestino. Racia, exterminio, genocidio, bombas atómicas, y luego vienen los pueblos árabes, todos los pueblos musulmanes, y después quieran venir por nosotros los cristianos, los católicos. Paremos al tiempo el genocidio, paremos a tiempo el genocidio sionista contra el amado y pueblo palestino.